just when you think that you're getting back on track, a man comes, scores a goal and gets all the hopes rising and then decides to get himself sent off. That'd be the views of Cam if he was here. Such a shame that argument's not going to happen tonight, but as it is, tonight, though, is all about response and responsibility. Hiram. Hiram Boateng is probably the most frustrating player ever to wear a Mansfield Town shirt. Scores a great goal at Bolton on Tuesday night, and then in the second half gets himself sent off. We were 1-0 up at that stage. In the end, we ended up losing 3-1. Responsibility. Who is responsible? Are we going to take responsibility? Will we respond as we face Huddersfield on Saturday? Can we end this horrendous run of league defeats and go in the right direction? 6 points from the playoffs, but also 6 points from the relegation zone. It's all getting serious now. Let's talk about all of that on tonight's Mansfield Matters podcast. As always, come and have your say on your team in the live feed. Hello, good evening and welcome to the Mansfield Matters podcast. It's the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. And tonight we have nearly a full lineup of Mansfield Town supporters to recap on what has been a frustrating few days. A great Saturday in the FA Cup and then a frustrating Tuesday night yet again at Bolton, when the Stags lose by 3-1. Well, first and foremost, let's say hello and good evening to my fellow panellists and the fellow three who are going to talk all about the last few days, the frustrating last few days. And we'll start by saying hello and good evening to the man who's got more shirts than Santa's got presents to deliver this year. It's Nick of Mansfield Town Shirts fame. Good evening.
Good evening, mate. Good evening, everybody.
And the man who has got also probably more shirts than Santa's got presents to deliver this year, albeit shirts from different sports, different football clubs from over the years. It's Mr. Alan Wilson. Evening, Al.
Good evening, Craig. Good evening, everybody.
And the man who has taken part in and hated more quizzes than Santa's got presents this year, it's Clive Barkin.
Good evening, Craig. Good evening, everybody.
Clive the quiz hater. Well, you know, you've got to hate something. And to be honest, Clive, at the minute, it's nice to be hating quizzes rather than everything that's going off on the pitch, because Tuesday night was a very frustrating one. At the moment, it's almost a difficult time to be a Stags fan, a tough time at the minute, because we're sort of in limbo a little bit, like I said in the intro, 6 points from the playoffs, but at the same time, 6 points from the relegation zone. Are we finally settling into the League One form we thought we might have?
Yeah, I think we all felt that the early season bounty was not necessarily going to last. Without sounding negative, I don't think what's happening now is a total surprise. And it's clear to me that the problem we now have is who's going to score goals for us.
Yeah, it is a big problem that we need to address, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as the show goes on tonight. As always, come and have your say on your team. Alan, it has been a frustrating few days, but, you know, I don't know where to start. Do we go FA Cup and do we go with the highs of getting through to round 3, or do we go through the lows of Bolton on Tuesday night? Where are you sat with things at the minute? Like I said, 6 points from the playoffs, 6 points from the relegation zone. Which side of the fence are you teetering on at the minute?
Euphoria because we won Saturday. We got ourselves in the third round of the FA Cup. But as regards Tuesday, it could have been a totally different conversation that we're having if Hiram hadn't got himself sent off. But after saying that, when they brought their 4 subs on, they were like lightning. 2 of them, especially on the wing backs. And I think we'd have struggled anyway, because with him putting Flint and Kilgore on, they weren't up to the pace of the game and they were getting beat all ends up. each time. So I think it might have been a different story. But after saying that, if Hiram had stopped on the pitch, who knows? We might not have needed Flint and Kilgore on the pitch because we were holding his own and quite admirably, I thought. So, it's one of them. It's awkward because he got himself sent off. There were 2 soft yellows, I thought, though. The second one, I don't think it was that bad. It was just that he'd been cautioned. So fair enough. You get your 2 yellows, but I think you just put it down to experience, Craig. At the end, he's apologised and we move on to Saturday. End of.
He has issued an apology via the medium of Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Many people have wanted to see him strung up this week, Nick. Cam being one of them. He's notable by his absence tonight. Just can't handle the heat, can he? You are the undisputed president of and only member of the Hiram Boateng fan club. Can we have an official statement from the chair?
Well, his mum's left the group, which is worrying slightly. She was the second member. She's quit this week. She said, I'm sick of it. Hey, look, it undoubtedly changed the game, didn't it? He's apologised, and it's one of those that it was probably harsh. He shouldn't have done it I think it was a tired, lazy tackle, wasn't it? That in most games in their third of the half probably doesn't really get a yellow card. Same with the Evans one on the keeper, which was a bit harsh, but. Look, it changed the game, didn't it? We just collapsed after that, and you need to, as a professional of his age, he's a bit one of the older ones. He needs to know better and not make silly tackles like that. He's held his hand up, hasn't he? And the worrying thing for me was how quickly we collapsed. I mean, how many times do we play against 10 men and it becomes harder? Like we struggle. We've lost against 10 men before because we just couldn't break them down, and I don't know, we just collapsed, didn't we? We just were far too easy to break down. We looked very leggy and tired, and the 10 men obviously didn't help with that at all, did it?
We've titled this Response and Responsibility this week, Clive, and in Nigel Clough's post-match, he's done a little bit of both of Clough of old. He's thrown Boateng a little bit under the bus, saying, he should have done better, he should have known better. But in the same breath, he's also said, I should have done better and I should have made a change. So who should take responsibility for what happened on Tuesday, Nigel Clough or Hiram Boateng?
It's not a simple question, is it? I think the reality is Clough takes responsibility for everything, and he's admitted his failures on this one. He ought to have removed the player before the second opportunity to get booked occurred, and the player himself has said, I made a mistake. It was stupid. I should be better than that. He's held his hands up. He can do no more. We move on. I have to say that it was a turning point because I think up to that point, the morale amongst the home side was poor and the crowd were on their backs. That just gave them a little bit of an impetus. But let's not also disguise the fact that the goals we conceded were really poor defensive goals. And that's not because Boateng was off the field. The defenders did not do their jobs.
No, and it's really raised questions for me, Alan, now as to whether or not we are actually up to it in this division, because defensively, all it takes is a team with a little bit of a pace, especially in the last sort of quarter of the game. We don't look fit enough. We don't look strong enough. And ultimately, we are on a trajectory at the moment, like it or not, in the wrong direction.
I just thought that I think for the one time this season, our substitutes didn't particularly work, if that makes sense. You see them coming on in other games and, they've helped, or, the way that the game panned out, even though we were still 1-0 up at the time, it didn't help when they brought the 2 quick lads on. I think they'd have beat anybody, to be fair, even if we just got the same defence, because they were going straight at it. They got nothing to lose, had they? As soon as they went down to 10 men, their tails were up and that was it. But I think I would have liked to have seen, I'm not putting anybody under the bus, or I'd like to see players playing in positions. And there's obviously a reason why George Williams didn't start. There must be a reason. He'd only had half an hour the week before. He hasn't played much. But I mean, I prefer him at centre half because that's what he does. But that's just my opinion.
I think the interesting thing,
George start.
Yeah, I think the George Williams one, Nick, is a very interesting debate. I've seen a lot of comments about this online. Obviously, we know a couple of weeks ago he was given a little bit of personal time,
Yeah.
which is absolutely fine, and
Yeah.
you know that is what it is. But like Alan has said there, he's an experienced defender. He can play in a good position. I feel like whenever he does play, Nicky comes in and gives us a real good game, and is always a reliable player. And yet, all right, he's only sort of not trained a lot, and he had 20 minutes the other night. And yet he wasn't involved in any way, shape or form on Tuesday, wasn't in the 18, and he seems to be down in the pecking order below the likes of Jordan Bowery, Bailey Cargill, Aidan Flynn, Alfie Kilgore. He's almost at the bottom of that defensive pecking order when we need to see a little bit more of him. It's what is happening with George Williams. When are we going to see him? And
I don't know. I think it's one of those that he's just been a la somebody like a Corey O'Keefe, where he used to come on and play. We're like, oh, he's played really well. He'll start on Saturday, and then he just never played again. And Clough I don't think he fancies him. I really don't. I don't think he doesn't seem to trust him. What's he played this season? He's played against Rotherham, and he was our man of the match from the game that we went to. And then he didn't play the following game. And I don't know. I don't know what more he could do. He came on. He looked solid against Stevenage on Saturday. He's the kind of player that doesn't need the pace. So he seems to be able to cope against the faster players because his positioning is that good. So I was very surprised that he didn't feature from the start of Bolton, and certainly he didn't come on. He just seems calm, doesn't he? He's not one of those that runs around and headless chicken types. He just seems quite calm. So I was very surprised that he didn't feature. It's got, like you say, it's for him to be below Jordan Bowery in the centre half pecking order. I don't think you can't fancy him, can you? Can't. He's out and out. Just doesn't want to play.
Sorry, Nick. I thought there'd got to be a reason for it. It's either got a knock or illness, whatever. There's got to have been a reason, I think.
It's so frustrating, Clive, because we've clearly got a player in our hands in George Williams who's got experience at this level, and like Nick said, you know, he's positionally sound, but he seems to be below Bowery, below other people, etc., etc. And like Marie's just sort of said in the comments, Oates on the bench with no game time behind him, rushing him back too soon with Gregory out. Could that slot have potentially been given to George Williams and given us more defensive options, or is it that we just overloaded in defensive options?
Well, we've certainly got options where defenders are concerned, providing they're all fit. And I take Alan's point, there may be something we don't know regarding George Williams, because I think when he's appeared, he's fulfilled his brief admirably, and he's got a wise head on his shoulders. He's not as pacey as others, but he certainly reads the game better than most. And much as I like Jordan Bowery, he is playing out of his natural position. He does a very good job by and large, and he always gives 100%. And I understand why Clough would favour that. But we're not the manager. Ultimately, he has to make a decision. I'm slightly worried because in his interview, he said that in the second half, we got the goal. All we wanted to do is defend it. Well, that's bad old days, isn't it? You know, get a goal and then sit on it, because we've never been quite good enough to do that as often as we should. And certainly, my biggest anxiety, as I hinted earlier, is that we've scored 2 goals since Curzon Ashton. One in the league, one in the cup, one by a defender, one by a midfielder. I just don't know where we're going to get our goals from on Saturday against Huddersfield, where I'm sure are, a competent side. We shouldn't be frightened of them, because, and I think I do agree with Clough, and he did mention it in his interview. He says, what we've learned is there's nobody in this league we should be frightened of. But we should be frightened of our own inabilities at the moment.
It's an interesting take to have on it, because there isn't a side that we should be frightened of at all in this division, because we can compete against anybody on our day. But at the same time, we are clearly lacking in something. And I think to have the attitude, Nick, of we'll get 1 goal and then we'll stick everybody behind the ball and defend for our lives. I don't think at the minute, when you've had this run of league games where you can't seem to get a win, things are going against you, I don't think it's what we want to be hearing from our manager at the minute. I think we want to hear a little bit more of the more angry is probably the wrong word, but the more riled up Clough that would say, no, we're not good enough. We need to be scoring more goals, and this is what we're going to do about it. At the minute, it just seems a little bit flippant and a little bit like, it'll be okay, guys. But for me, you can't hide behind, and like we alluded to last week, you can't hide behind the fact this is a sequence of defeats, and we have plummeted. And if we continue on this trajectory, in 3 or 4 games' time, we won't be 6 points from the playoffs or 6 points from the bottom four. We'll be 9 or 12 points from the playoffs and a point or so from the bottom four, and it's a different game then. It's a harder rut to get yourself out of. Does Clough need to come out, Nick, and be a little bit more, a little bit more riling these players?
Yeah, I think the point to make about what Clive was saying, and I agree with Clive, we shouldn't sit back, but I don't think he trusts that we've got a competent attacking force, and I think that's why he wasn't attacking, because I don't think he trusts anyone we've got up front at the minute. But yeah, we do. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because like you say, one win on Saturday, and it's kind of all forgotten, isn't it? And you kind of think, well, we'll push on from here. But it's the attack that worries me at the minute. Yeah, the defense is a bit all over the place, but we've only conceded 1 goal in those 3 games, didn't we, each? We got a clean sheet on Saturday, but I can't see where we're going to score goals from, and the 5 at the back system doesn't help. It helps with solidity at times, but what it doesn't help with is creating chances, because you've got one more man further back. And I think we've suffered a little bit recently in those games where, with Evans and Gregory up top, they could make things out of nothing. But without them, you may as well have put a fan up front instead of Ben Waine for the last couple of games, unfortunately. And we struggle. And I think we'll struggle on Saturday, because I can't see who's going to play up front. Akins has been okay, but he plays better at right wing back, which is bizarre, but it's factual. So yeah, I think he probably would want to attack a little bit more Clough, but maybe at the minute he just hasn't got, for whatever reason, the resources to do so. And he obviously doesn't trust Nichols either. He may as well be on this podcast, because he isn't playing, is he?
This is the problem, because it's not like we haven't got the options, Alan. We have got the options, but for whatever reason, Nigel Clough does not want to use them. Tom Nichols, we almost talking about him every week at the minute. He must be doing something so wrong in training to not even get a look in. You've got other options in there as well. Potentially, you could look at throwing Bowery back up there and give us a little bit of height. Obviously, Ben Waine doesn't seem to be doing it. I know we've got Ben Quinn as well, who's young and raw, but is injured at the minute. We've got James Gale out on loan. We let Will Swan go. I don't know. I just feel like there's something with Nigel Clough, and we've seen it time and time again, haven't we, historically, over his managerial spell with us. It's the only thing which niggles me about Clough, is that when you're out of favour, you're out of favour. And no matter what the situation is, you could be a 40-goal-a-season striker and the team could be struggling to score and not scored in 10 games. But if you're out of favour, you ain't getting in for love nor money.
The thing is, in respect of the team that he picked on Tuesday night, as in what was said about George Williams, until Boateng went off, everything was hunky-dory, weren't it? There was no problem. I thought we were in the ascendancy and we were playing very well. But come this Saturday, I would imagine, provided he's not injured, Cargill will slot straight back in at side of Dave, probably, and put Jordan up front. Give him a chance. But the thing is, Jordan's played centre half, he's played right back, he's played left back, he's played a lot of positions at the back. And will it take him time, to start getting his centre forward head on? That's the only thing that I would think about if he plays Jordan Barry up front, because at the end of the day, he is a centre forward. And it was only 2 or 3 years ago where he was top scorer with 10 goals. So it might be worth a punt.
I think you touch on a point there, Alan, that the Bowery is at the wrong end of his career now to rekindle his strike potency. I say that reluctantly because at the moment he's as good as what we've got up front, but that's circumstantial. I think it just scratches raw. The reality is we've got the oldest team in the league. And the younger players we've got on our squad are not making the mark. They're not good enough. Ben, what's his face? I don't think he's got it in. I don't think he's got the talent from what I can see so far. And I think young Quinn is probably too early for him. But we have let players go that are better, and younger players I'm talking about. I mean, the reasons were sound enough, but I really can't see past Craig's point. Is we've got a qualified fullback who's not being played, and they'd rather put a makeshift in his place. we've got a qualified striker and he'd rather put a makeshift in his place. To me, that worries me.
It is a massive worry, and just sort of going back to the Jordan Bowery point as well, about Alan sort of getting his radar right. Judging by the chance he had in the second half at Stevenage, Nick, he ain't a striker, is he, anymore?
No, he's not. No, he isn't.
How wide?
Keep him at the back.
Fucking hell, Jordan nearly took the corner flag off.
Yeah, I think keep him at the back, to be fair. But I
really
do agree with what Alan said.
The Burger van was in real danger.
It was.
It was the first time the steward in front of us moved all game was to dodge that shot, and then she went back to where she was stood. But I think Alan's right though. If we'd have held on, maybe this would be a different podcast. But we'd have still lost 3 in a row before that, so it kind of doesn't. But I think it's all depends. It could all change Saturday, couldn't it? We looked at Stevenage in the second half and made the subs, and he put Akins up front, and actually Akins and Evans suddenly looked brighter. But I think Evans looked brighter coming off the bench than he has done starting recently. Maybe that's because he knows he hasn't got 90 minutes of running ahead of him on his own. But I'm sure whatever formation and whatever players he puts out with will do well. But I think if you look at the results aside, where we are on the table, we're as good as where we probably could be at this point, aren't we? In 10th, it's not a bad place to be. I know, like Craig said, a couple of results because you're wrong way again. We could be further down, but I'd have snapped your hand off 10th and 6 points off the playoffs in December.
I think there's an important point to make here, and it's been made in the comments as well, is nobody's hammering us. This game on Tuesday was a bit of a misnomer because of the circumstances surrounding it. Nobody's taking us to task. The 3 games we lost 1-0. Clough makes the argument, and I buy most of what he says, is we were very unlucky. We could have had points from those games. Should have had points from those games. We didn't for whatever reason. So we're not far off where we need to be. But the bit that we're missing is a goal scorer, because you can concede a goal as long as you score 2 at the other end.
But you look.
I've just had to quickly change what's in Craig's bucket because I've just seen Tom Nichols in there.
Go on.
I said I've just had to quickly change what's in Craig's bucket.
First 20 minutes on Saturday, Evans has 2 chances and puts 2 goals away. And that's as quick as it could change, and everything, would be a lot better. But it's just that we haven't been doing that for whatever reason. We know Gregory's a big miss. Like, we've had players in the past that have been, one man doesn't make a team, but you do miss him when he's not playing. But, it could all change Saturday. That little miss or that little hit the bar, hit the post, it could go in and it could be a totally different game.
Sorry, I just had to tell the dog off because I've got some sausage rolls in a bowl behind me, and I saw him sneaking in, having a little sniff. So I'll just move those out of the way. Yeah, I'll just move those out of the way.
And a dog.
It is. I can't remember what I was going to say now. I am going to come to some of the comments in just a minute, so please do keep them coming in and have your say on your team. We'll go through a few of them. It's frustrating because we were sort of saying there that yes, those 3 games you look in isolation and you go, yeah, a little bit of bad luck there, a little bit of bad luck here, and what have you. And like we sort of said on last week's show, it's more because it's becoming a sequence and things like that. But at the same time, we also have got this capability to beat teams and outplay teams. But at the same time, we've also got this ability to play absolutely shocking and be completely nowhere in a game. And let's be honest, Clive, we were very lucky at Stevenage on Saturday in that first half an hour to not be 5 down because we were fucking woeful.
Well, I think we certainly should have been 2 goals down. And I'll give the credit to the defenders. They were getting bodies behind the ball, and at the same time, Stevenage could have done better, I guess. But that's football, isn't it? You can have an awful game and hold on to your status and then bag one, which is what we did at Stevenage. I have no problem with that. That's football. And in the Cup, that's exactly what you come to expect. I'm more concerned about the league form, I have to say, because I think, as you say, there's a pattern emerged. We need to see it change. And it was about to change on Tuesday night. I felt we were in control. Alan's made the point. Up until the sending off, we looked in control. And they looked woeful. Now, having said all that, they brought 4 players on in a timely manner that completely changed the game. And if I'm critical of Mr. Clough at all, his substitutions were late and not necessarily effective. That's not all to do with him. It's to do with the players he's bringing on.
I just worry that we're not fit enough. We're not good enough. We're not strong enough to see games out and to play. When we play Saturday, it's not so bad because we tend to have a little bit of wind down time. We recuperate well. But when we're playing Saturday, Tuesday, we really struggle after 60 minutes. If we've not scored in the first half an hour, we're very lucky to get a point out of the game. We probably end up losing it because teams in this division, like somebody's mentioned in the comments, are a complete different level to us. We're at a different level to League Two. You know, League One's a different kettle of fish, and there are certain players that are unavailable. And it made me wonder a little bit, Nick, on Tuesday when I heard the Sky commentator come out with a stat that we've played, you know, quite a lot of the oldest 11s in the league. You know, 30 is not old by any stretch of the imagination, but we need to get some younger players in there with a little bit more League One experience. I really feel like January is going to be huge for us, and potentially, depending on how results go in the next 3 or 4 games, it could be make or break as to whether or not we get survival.
Yeah, I think we are. I saw an article called "The Oldest Team in the Football League," which was ours, which was about the age of our squad. So we need a bit of youthful exuberance and a bit of pace. I suggest pace has been lacking for about 5 years. I don't think we've had a quick, and I'm saying like quick player since CJ left. I mean, how long ago is that? 7 years, 6 years?
7
Well,
years.
you could argue that Reece Oates is a quick player when he's fit.
Yeah, he is to a point. He's lost that, hasn't he? His legs are like mine.
And I think Evans is a quick player, but in his own way. You know, he's not raw.
He's to a point, but they're very much down the middle, and we don't have any pace. A lot of teams don't really have pace down the middle. It's pace out wide that seems to create chances. We haven't had pace out wide for a long time. I think a little bit of youthful exuberance will do us, and get rid of some of the players that Cloughy clearly isn't bothered about playing.
But who's fighting for the striker roles at the moment? I mean, Bale's gone, Swan's gone. They were young players that would be hungry to try and get on the team sheet. Who's now fighting? Gregory was a nailed-on player, but let's be fair, Gregory's at the end of his career.
But this is the point, though.
Get another season out of him, but much after that.
This is the point with Clough, though. Nobody's fighting for those positions because people know he's got a pecking order. Gregory knows as soon as he's fit, he's straight back in. Tom Nichols knows he's more likely to win the lottery on Friday night, win the Euro Millions, as he is to play on Saturday afternoon.
And there's no sign of anything coming up the pipeline from the academy either.
No, because we're not seemingly bedding them, or we're not getting them opportunities, or Clough doesn't want to give them.
But I'm not a football manager, and I don't pretend to have the expertise and experience that he's got. But why have you got a crocked player on the bench when you could perhaps blood one of the younger players if necessary?
Absolutely.
What's he got to lose? What's his best striker in the academy, in the under 21 team?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Yeah, Abdullah.
Abdullah.
Possibly Abdullah.
Where's Abdullah going to end up? He won't play for this club, in my opinion. He'll end up going somewhere else and making a career start somewhere else. That's what happens in football. We know that. It just seems to me that we've invested an enormous amount of money and effort in the youth programme that sooner or later, and I'm not sure whether I'm jumping the gun here, sooner or later we should be seeing something come and into the first team frame.
Yeah, it's certainly one for debate. And like I keep saying, every time we talk about the academy sort of thing, I would love to do a more in-depth dive. And the open invitation is always going to be there to those at the club. If they want to take it, they know how to contact us, mtfcmatters@gmail.com, or, just get in touch with me. Let's dive through some of the comments then, shall we, and have your say on your team. Keep them coming through. Apologies if we skip a few of them. It's because we've maybe already spoken about that topic or there's similar comments, that sort of thing. But please do keep them coming in. Excuse me, and we will do our best to talk about those things. Simon says, said it last week, the defence is stronger without Flint, Nick.
Yeah, I would agree at the minute. I think he has his place and he has his games where the thing is, I can't remember what home game it was. Was it Birmingham where he came on and they threw everything in the air and he won every single battle? Yeah. And for whatever reason, when we brought him on, they went long, which I never understood. But anyway, they went long, and he was absolutely dominant. And he could still do that, and I think he'd still do that into his 40s. But I think now, last season, he pretty much fit every game we played. I think this season we've got to be very selective which games and which position Aidan Flint plays. That's my only thing. Dave can play against anyone. Cargill can. I think Kilgore could, but Flint is very much we've got to select who we play. And then Barry's the same. Certain games, Barry is not good enough to be playing centre back in this league, but certain games he's perfect for.
I'm going to work that out. I'm going to throw this out there now. and I might take some flack for it, but whatever. We are overloaded with defensive players who can play in that back three. Even if you take George Williams out of the fray, Alfie Kilgore's coming back. I felt he had a really good game at Stevenage once he got that first 5-10 minutes out of his way. Dave's a mainstay in there, and if Cam ever says moving into midfield, I'll punch him one side, and then I'll pick him up, and you can punch him about Boateng, Nick. Cargill is in there. Blake Tracy's in there. McLaughlin's in there. If I put a pecking order of importance of defenders I want to see start, and I think strong enough for us, Flint doesn't necessarily get in there for me. I agree at times, like the Birmingham example, is handy to have in there, but especially when we're playing a back five, I don't quite think he's got the pace to match it. So, and here is the thing which is going to be a little bit controversial. We know he can play up front, and I'm not.
Get out of here!
No,
I'm not saying that we should start.
Can we mute him?
No, weirdly, I'm in charge of the buttons. So I'm not saying start him. Not for a second am I saying start Aidan Flint as a striker. I'm not saying that he is the answer. But if we're going to have him on the bench, we don't need to bring him on up front. I think after an hour, when we're starting to get a little bit tired, Al, I think bringing Flint on for the last half an hour, 15 minutes as a target man to try and get us out of danger when other teams are bringing on pacey players and we're under the cosh a little bit and we're desperate for a physical out, that could be a short-term solution until we get to January. Thoughts?
My thoughts are, and I might get slated for this, while ever he's got his mask on, I would leave him out. Get him fully fit first, because that might be bothering him. He's got this mask. He's never played in one of those before. I assume he hasn't. But I get your point, and that's a fair point. But wouldn't that mean at Mansfield, resorting back to the long ball, which I don't think is particularly good for us, unless you've got your Akins or whoever, Bacchus, running down the line and putting the ball in the middle for him.
I think my point's more based on when we're under the cosh and we need a physical outlay, which Lee Gregory gives us.
Can I just say though, Craig, it wouldn't be the first time that the manager has thrown him up into that target role, and it's never worked. I mean, whether it's his fault or the rest of the team's fault, he doesn't achieve anything when he's there. You'd expect him to tower above everybody else. And
let's be honest, though. Let's be honest. Is there more chance of him playing Aidan Flint up front or playing Tom Nichols?
Aidan Flint.
So I'm right.
So Nichols at centre.
So all of you slating me, saying that I'm off my meds and need to cut my feed. I'm right.
I don't think he's the answer. I don't think if I pick two back four at the minute or back five, I don't think he'd get in the team anywhere at the minute.
I think now he's got his mask, he should continue to train as the understudy for Phantom of the Opera, and let's crack on with the other players.
I'm not saying he is the answer, but I'm saying as an option.
You know what? Once he wins a header at a corner, I will allow that option. If he wins a header at a corner, our corner, I will allow him to play up front. He hasn't headed from a corner in 2 years.
Can I just say that my criticism of Flint is not because I think he's a towering, controlled player when the ball's in the air coming at him when he's in the defensive lineup. There's very few people I've seen better at dealing with that situation. What he does badly is what he does afterwards. If there's ball at his feet, his distribution is not as good as it could be, not as good as it should be. You compare him to Dave, for instance, and I think he has his limitations. I don't think when he's got to go up front where the ball is going to be coming at him from the angles he's not used to, he's got the talent that's needed. And I hope I'm wrong, because I'd love to see him bag a couple of goals. Like Nick, I just don't see it happening.
You never know. Stranger things have happened. Who'd have thought that, 4 seasons ago, that Jordan Bowery would be a centre-back, get in and aside in a pecking order above a player who is actually a centre-back.
Craig, there were reasons 3 seasons ago why we got square pegs in round holes. We got food.
Why is he still there then? Why is he still there? Because he's talented. He's been developed. And he's got
an implied criticism of the selection process taking place. When we had no choice, you had to put your players in there because they were adaptable and flexible and willing to do it. Now we've got a raft of qualified people to be in those positions, and yet we're still not putting some of them in place. That worries me.
Yeah, very true. Right, keep your comments coming in. Have your say on your team. Richard says, never seen Hewitt skinned as easily as he was leading to their second goal. I felt a little bit sorry for him on Tuesday night because he ended up playing right side centre back and not right wing back, which is a completely different position. And we all know that Elliot Hewitt has not necessarily got 90 minutes in his legs, which again is another problem.
Fit, does he?
Yeah,
it doesn't fit to me at all.
No.
At all.
No, I do
Which brings
fear
the George Williams question even more.
Exactly. Yeah,
the real question is, do we ever expect him to get back to the fitness he had before his nasty injury?
I would argue that
often don't.
I'd argue that after he's been in the side now for a prolonged enough period to have got over his injury, and it's clear to me that he's not at the fitness level that he needs to be, or that he was beforehand. But he's needed, isn't he? And to be fair, when he's right wing back, he does get forward into good positions.
He's one of our better players.
Yeah.
I'm just
Very
saying,
frustrating.
I wouldn't say anything about his fitness when he's playing right wing back. He gets up and down there quite well, I think. So
I think the question is, does a player that's had a nasty ACL ever get back to the form it was before? Yeah. If they're lucky enough and they're strong enough, they probably do. But lots and lots of players never really get back to the standard they once had when they've had that sort of injury. And if he does, it's to his credit, obviously.
Plus the fact they're getting a little bit older as well.
Yeah, very true indeed. Keep your comments coming in. Keeley says, I thought the ref on Tuesday, first half was fair. Second half, it was like he had a vendetta against Mansfield. Clough should have subbed Boateng earlier, though. Defence was shocking after the centre-off, like all heads went down. Simon says we have a lot of players still recovering from injuries. That's true. Oates on the bench with no game time behind him, rushing him back too soon with Gregors out. Says Marie is a little bit of a risk. I agree. To be fair, says Richard, this is the first time we've struggled defensively since Lincoln. Prior to Bolton, we've only conceded 1 goal a game in the previous 6 or 7 games. And he also adds that Ben Waine is weak and never holds the ball up, goes down way too quickly. Simon adds that we miss Cargill when he isn't playing. Will Evans looking like he's low on confidence without Gregory. And it is a fair point from Andy that he makes as well, Clive, that he says, I think we're all forgetting the level that we're playing at. I've been watching the Stags since 1976, and we've only stayed up once at this level since then. Whenever you go up a division, it's always scoring goals. That's the challenge. This squad will develop if we stay in the league and have 2 or 3 more windows.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think he's right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He's right. And I think what we said at the very start is we've probably been, our performances, our results in the early part of the season have been a little bit misleading. We have taken points from teams that really shouldn't have lost them. The early games against Cambridge and Burton and things. We were very lucky with those. But you make your own luck, and we got the points in the bag, and it's a bloody good job we have.
Absolutely. Craig adds 3 times 1-0 losses. And okay, we conceded after going down to 10 men. Need to sort out what we are doing in front of goal and a central midfielder to command the centre of the puck. I think that's one thing which we're perhaps overlooking a little bit, Al, is a central midfield player, because you often you critique the defence when you're conceding goals. You critique your front line when you're not scoring as many goals. Midfield-wise, in this system, I do feel we're a little bit light at times. And do you know what? I wish Nathan was here, because I have to say, we're missing an Ollie Clark figure.
Absolutely.
We're missing Ollie Clark.
I'd have him back in a flash. In fact, shall we crowdfund it?
Bringing back Ollie
I
Clark.
don't think it'd take a lot to get him from Swindon, would it? They're not in great shape at the minute. In Holloway chasing ghosts out of the training ground at the minute.
It could be. We could be.
One thing I will say about the midfield, though, Craig, it's a good point about the system. I think with 5 at the back, it pushes Reid further forward, so he picks the ball up further forward, and then doesn't have the depth of field to pass the ball like he normally does, because there's an extra centre half. I think when we play 4 at the back, Reid naturally sits deeper and has more men in front of him.
Yeah,
and I think that Reid's picking the ball up now, I would say 20 yards too far forward. And then, therefore, he hasn't really got anyone to pass. How many times did we see on Saturday Reid's got the ball? Well, who's he going to pass to now? And then he goes backwards. And then we go back to Pim. And then we kick it long and lose it. I think that the 5 at the back at times is worth it. But at the minute, I think it really constricts Reid's playing space. He used to run that midfield, didn't he? It really constricts the amount of room he's got. And then then we become more negative as a result. So I think that's a big point about that midfield.
The truth is, if you've not got an effective read in midfield, you haven't got a midfield at the moment.
No, and I think that is part of the problem at the minute. And at Stevenage, we just booted it over the midfield at times, didn't we? That first half.
I've got no idea what we were doing at Stevenage in that first half. I've got no idea who was playing where. It was a very strange system. I think we started with Bacchus at wing back.
Right
He changed it three times during the first half.
Aikens played, and then it hit it to McLaughlin. Him hit it to McLaughlin every time.
Yeah,
it was bizarre because he wasn't winning anything.
Did not find him once.
No,
it was
bizarre. Ben Waine was like a competition winner. I don't know what was going on there.
Shocking. It was really, really weird. But again, I don't know. I just think that midfielder. I get the point about the system and sort of Reed going a little bit higher up the pitch to win the ball. But I don't know. I don't think we've really recruited well on midfield. I think we've not really looked at that. I think Bacchus hasn't really found his role. He's not really found what he wants to do. And Clough, he seems to be in this mindset of sticking him somewhere down the right-hand side, be that wing back or whatever. And it doesn't really work. He's not really that creative.
Maris, he's an attacking midfielder, isn't he? For me, he's not, like we said, put him behind the strikers and see how he gets on. He's not a winger, is he? He's not a right wing back. What is your best midfield, Craig? What if you could pick a three, who would it be?
I don't know.
Lewis and Boateng are very in and out. Maris is not fit. What is your best midfield at the minute?
I can't name one because I don't think we've got midfielders that are consistent enough to stay in there. I'm going to say it. I think when Boateng has played this season, I think he has performed, but he's just gangly, and that is the problem. He just makes stupid decisions. There was no need to make the challenge that he did on Tuesday night.
At that point, he was the best player we had.
Absolutely, he was. And when he plays, he does carry us. And I think he suits that system really well. I think Aaron Lewis
Quinn's fell off as well, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Quinn's fell off as well. That doesn't.
I felt really sorry for him. I felt really sorry for him on Saturday because I think that was the first sign of him wanting to give up a little bit. He took a corner and slipped on his arse, and he just sort of got up and walked off like a sad little puppy, and was just like, I'm not sure whether I'm up to this anymore or not. And I don't know. Say when Ben Quinn plays, I think he could give us an option in the middle, but he's raw and inexperienced, and I don't know. I just don't think we've got enough midfielders in there that can go box to box. When you play in this system, you need to have a holding midfielder who can drop into the back four, which I think Reed's got the ability to do. But the fact we've not got a box to box midfielder, someone like an Ollie Clark who can get stuck in, who can find the pass, who isn't afraid to, cover every single blade of grass and run at the grass like he's caught the grass shagging his wife. Until we've got that style of player, we're not going to do well. And that's why when you watch us play, we'll either pass it around frustratingly for 20, 30 passes and not get nowhere and allow the other team to get back in because we've got no one instinctive enough to make the runs, or we'll hoof it long because we run out of ideas. We need someone to carry us. And that, for me, along with a striker, has got to be some of the investment in January. Keep your comments coming in. I'll go through a few more of them, then we'll take a quick break. Andy says, I think Oates' contract is until January. Surely he'll be given a chance soon. Oates stretching the defence and Evans dropping into the space created. See, again, Alan, I think if Rhys Oates can get himself match fit, I think he might answer a few of our problems. But the problem is he's not going to get match fit this side of Christmas. And we need results now.
And he's obviously they got the under-21s and the reserve games as and when they play. But little bit part play, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Give him a bit of a run out, but we don't want him to overdo it because we don't want him going backwards instead of forwards. Because if he gets on his game, if he gets 75% the player he was before, I'd have him in the team.
Absolutely, but it's just about time.
Yeah.
That's the issue, though, isn't it, Clive? At the minute, we've got all these solutions and we've got all these fixes, but like anything else, they take time to build. But at the moment, you can't hide behind the fact we've not won in 6 league games. We've lost our last 4 league games on the spin. We've fallen. We're struggling for goals. And we haven't got the time we need to wait. We can't pause our games and say, come back and play us in February, lads. Can't do it.
I think that's why Clough was so angry post at Bolton, because he needed a point to break the sequence. and he'd have been perfectly happy with a point, I think. But we are where we are, and all we can do is do our best. And the club from the top down has to do everything they can, given the resources we've got, to put out the best team against Huddersfield. I'm sure that they've done the homework on Huddersfield. They'll know whether it's a Flint game or not. They'll know how best to set up the midfield, such as we've got. My worry is I don't think our midfield is anywhere near strong enough. I'm not convinced about Bacchus, if I'm being honest. I think he's got talent. I don't think he's tough enough. Probably my view on it. And we've already mentioned the other people that we've taken in that seemingly are not making much of a contribution. And other players come in and out of form. That's always been the case. But we started off this season, and we all said it, and I was the biggest voice on it. We'd got 2 complete teams in our squad. We got cover everywhere. Unlike previous 2 or 3 seasons, we are where we need to be in terms of resource. And yet here we are having this sort of conversation.
Absolutely. And you know what? Overriding it all is this comment which has come in from Andy. And you know what? For all this debate and for all this frustration and disappointment, simply 5th from bottom will do, because that means survival and that means job done. But you know what? It wouldn't be football without all the stuff in between, would it? Keep having your comments, keep having your say on your team. When we come back, we'll take a little look to the fixtures coming up. And of course, we'll do podcast predictions and everything else in between. This is the show for the fans, by the fans. This is the Mansfield Matters Podcast. You're back with the show for the fans, by the fans. This is the Mansfield Matters Podcast. Keep your comments coming in. Have your say on your team. How do we get out of this losing slump? How do we do it? What do we do? What tweaks do we make? Do we change the formation? Do we bring in a fresh face? Do we give somebody else a chance? Where do we break the sequence? Because that has to be the most important thing. The big question for me is, it's getting through to January and sort of staying within that top 12, Alan, which I think will give us a good mental state. But I think out of all the transfer windows that we've had so far, we have to recruit in January, because what we've seen so far is we are good enough to compete in this division, but we need some more experienced League One players with a little bit more youth on their side. The checkbook has to come out surely this year.
And I would imagine Nigel and his crew have done the homework, on looking at different players who's available, who might be available, who's available to come to Mansfield. But I just can't, I'm not worried, Craig, personally. I mean, we had the first 5 games, did we? Where we won, we got 20 odd points. We raced there, and then we've had a bit of a slump. And it could change again just as quickly on Saturday if Evans puts, shooting boots on, gets a bit of confidence back, puts one in through his backside, and then gets his confidence and scores that trick. It could all change within one game. So I'm not particularly worried. Like Andy said, 5th from bottom. We all said that at the start of the season, 50 points or near enough. Once we get to that, we'll be happy and then build again.
What do you make of this from Ben, Nick, in the comments? I hate to say it, but we are missing both a playmaker and a goal scorer. If we can't get those in January, I think we're cooked.
No. I agree with the first half of it. I think we do need a goal scorer and we do need something in midfield. I don't necessarily think he's a playmaker, because I think Maris and Bacchus could probably do that if they're fit. I think we need a bit of roughage in the midfield, I think, personally. But I think there's definitely 4. Yeah, it could be. We could look at that if we get a solid back 4, and if he goes to a 4, I could see Dave coming out. I know Craig's going to explode, but if we play a 4, I could see Cargill or a Blake Tracy playing alongside a Kilgore, for example. But it's a 5. I wouldn't take Dave out, but I don't think we're cut. There's definitely 4 worse teams than us. I mean, 100% there are 4 worse teams than us.
Oh my God. I've just had
a light bulb moment.
He's had an epiphany. He's going to put Dave up front.
Yes, Nick. Yes, I am.
There you go.
That's the answer to our problems.
There you
Get
go.
him up
I
front
knew it.
now.
I'd put
But
him up front.
I'd put Flinders. He's got a bit of height. We'd put Pim up front and go long ball, wouldn't we? That'd be the Mansfield way. No, I don't think we're cut. I think there's definitely four worse teams than us. Everyone takes points off each other in this league. Just you look at Burton beat Peterborough, didn't they, last night? Where did that come from? So it's a very strange league. But I've not like when we went up last time in 2002, and everyone was just better than us, weren't they? We were getting spanked left, right, and centre, and we got beat 6 by Oldham. We were just poor, weren't we? Whereas this time, I've not seen anybody, even Birmingham, Wickham, whoever. I've not watched it and gone, wow, we are nowhere near them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point I start to worry, is when we turn up to games and we are nowhere near.
Like we were at Streets.
But we've not.
Like we were in the first half at the Stephen.
Yeah,
we looked
but
like
even then it was
a non-league side.
It was 0-0, wasn't it? But we did, but it was 0-0.
Yeah.
Like we weren't 4-0 down. Well, we could have been, of course, we could have been. But then again, we could have beat Birmingham in the last minute when we were through on goal and messed it up. So I've not seen anyone that I thought Wigan away we'd lose, and we beat them. They've been to other games, and I thought, the Birmingham will turn up. They'll have 3 by our time, and we should have beat them. I've not seen anybody yet, and Huddersfield might change my opinion, that I've gone, wow, they're in a different league, because I don't think anybody is. I think it's just a case of luck. Like Clive said, we beat some teams we shouldn't have done, and we've lost to some that we shouldn't have done. It's swings and roundabouts for me. I don't think we're. I certainly don't think we'll go down, because I think we've got enough, and I think the Clough factor will help.
Yeah. I slightly disagree. I think that if we don't bring at least 2 players in January, I think we're going to be in trouble, because
I think we will bring those in though. I think
we're struggling. But the thing is, though, I don't know. I think if we get players on loan, good players on loan, or players in for no cost, I think we'll bring them in. But I'm hesitant to think that we'll spend money. Nothing in our history of transfer dealings says that we're going to go out and sign 3 players for money, because the mantra with Mansfield under Nigel Clough is one goes out before one comes in. And there is a few obvious candidates to be moved out. Tom Nichols being one of them. But does anyone else think that in January there won't be almost a free checkbook for Nigel Clough to go and spend? We have got supposedly the DKD money, which I personally believe has been spent in other areas already. But
paddleball
and Bishop Street stand concrete. But people in January will talk about this. So my question to all of you, and it's open to anyone to answer, is: will we spend money in January, or will we do what Mansfield have done historically in the Clough tenure, and we'll bumble along to deadline day and get what's left?
Loans. I think we might go with loans. I think we'll loan Quinn out, because he said he would do, and I think we'll probably get rid of Nichols and maybe get a couple of loans in. I mean, I don't know if we can terminate Ben Wayne, but he'd be gone.
That's a
by terminate, you mean terminate his loan and not kill him, right? I don't want another Clark situation. I don't want another throw off the cliff.
I would terminate his loan agreement, and I would get somebody else in on loan. And I think we'll go down the loan route. I can't see us spending a lot of money, but that's my.
It depends, doesn't it? If the right players out there coming out of contract, there is some money there, and I think Carolyn's had a sniff of the Championship. She'll want to see us doing a bit better, and if that means spending a bit of her husband's money, I'm sure it'll happen. But what we have to be able to do is to get through this season with the resources we started with, in my opinion.
An apt reminder that the views expressed in this broadcast are solely those of the individual. Please do feel free to get involved in the comments and have your say on your team. Let's turn our attention, shall we, Alan, to upcoming fixtures. We are in bad form. There is no denying that we are in bad form. I don't care about this whole unlucky here, if this would have happened there. No, look at the form guide. We are in bad form. In the last 6 games, we've not won a game. We've lost the last 4 on the bounce. Huddersfield, by comparison, unbeaten in the last 8. I think they've got something like 6 or 7 wins as well on the spin. They're a really good side. And sometimes they're not the sides you want to be facing. But this is Mansfield Town, isn't it, Alan? Actually, this is probably the team that you do want to be facing when you're in this slump.
Didn't we say the same with Wickham? Wickham had won 9 on the bounce, or 10 or whatever it was, and we gave them a damn good go. We're only a fluke that we lost to Wickham, so I can't see us having a problem against Huddersfield. I really can't. Whoever we come up against, as long as we're 110%, that'll do for me. It will.
Some tough games coming up though, Clive. Obviously, Huddersfield at home, Charlton away a week on Saturday. Then just before Christmas, we've got the return of Big Steve, if he's still in a job, with Rotherham coming to One Call Stadium. Peterborough on Boxing Day, and then Reading away on the 29th. Ticket information's been released about them, so I'll come on to that in just a minute. But it's a tough Christmas period, and what you want, Clive, going into the new year is we need to sort of find a way to curve away from this. And
we need some points.
Looking at those games, let's say next 3 games, arguably we need to be getting at least a minimum of 3 points, don't we?
I think the irony is we are better away from home at the moment, and I think I fancy us more against Charlton away than I do against Huddersfield at home. And I think the Reading game will be a very big game for us, and I see no reason why we shouldn't go there with the anticipation of coming back with all the points. I think we should beat Rotherham, but the others are going to be really tough.
Yeah, absolutely. But like Ben says in the comments, Nick, the most Mansfield thing to happen here would be to beat Huddersfield by 5.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? I mean, we all went to Wigan, didn't we? I don't think with expectations of doing anything, and we won. And yeah, it would be exactly that. That would be very much Mansfield. But I suppose if our intention is to finish 5th bottom, then we should be beating teams like Huddersfield, should be, with their budgets. But I think we'll give them a very good go. And that's all you can ask for. And it's sold out again. I noticed today they've announced that it's sold out. I think we'll
and you'd assume Huddersfield
should be bang up for it.
Yeah,
I would have thought so. They've not been here for a while, have they? So I think it'll be a tough game. I think Clive's right. I would fancy us more going away to Charlton than Huddersfield.
Well, speaking of going away, let's have a look at ticket information, as the Peterborough ticket information and the Reading information is now out as well. So tickets for our Sky Bet League One encounter away at Peterborough on the 26th of December will go on sale to season ticket holders with 8 or more loyalty points on Monday, the 9th of December from 10 a.m. The club has received an allocation of 1,626 tickets, which includes 8 pairs of wheelchair and carer tickets. Supporters can purchase their tickets at stagstickets.co.uk, or you can do that in person from the One Call Stadium ticket office. Tickets cannot be purchased on the day of the game. The window sales, as per the club's loyalty point system, is as follows. Monday, the 9th of December from 10 a.m. is 8 points or more. Then it's 4 points or more from Wednesday, the 11th of December from 10 a.m. Friday, the 13th of December is 2 points or more. And the 16th of December, Monday, is all remaining season ticket holders. Wednesday, the 18th of December from 10 until 5 is SSA members. And then from 5 p.m., it's general sale, subject to availability. Tickets, £27 for adults, 22 for seniors, under 24s at 18, under 18s are 9, and under 14s are £3.
That's a lot, isn't it? 27 quid's a lot, isn't it?
Boxing Day, innit? Cashing in. And then Reading information is as follows as well. The club's received an initial allocation, 559 tickets.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're going to sell out quick, aren't they?
I'm hoping they've missed.
What does it hold? 25,000?
I'm hoping they've missed a digit off that, because that's a joke. That is an absolute joke.
Unless it's just an initial, but there's no point, is there? If we're going to say, you just look at what's our average away attendance this season, probably 1,900 and something.
Yeah,
that's bizarre.
It's over 1,000.
Wow,
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's bizarre, that is.
Okay, so the club has requested a larger allocation, but our hosts have informed us that they will only offer more tickets in small blocks once the initial allocation is sold out. So they're doing it literally by demand. So they're going to.
Why though? They don't sell out, are they? They don't sell out.
Absolutely.
A couple hundred at a time.
So be quick. Monday, the 9th of December is 8 points or more. Wednesday, the 11th of December, 4 points or more. 13th of December is 2 points or more. And then the 16th of December is all remaining season ticket holders. 18th of December is SSA members 10 till 5. And then general sale on the 18th of December after 5 p.m. £23 for adults, £17 for seniors, £14 for under 25s. All the information's on mansfieldtown.net. Hello, Mr. Edge, in the comments. Boateng for the Clark Cliff.
Can I just say on the Reading thing, on the day after the game, anybody can buy a ticket.
Yeah, absolutely. The day after the game, anyone can have any. They can have any
I
ticket.
might take
they like.
advantage of that, Clive. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea. 500, just over 500 tickets. Oh, a few mind games going off there. Right, so let's move on, shall we? And let's do the guessing game where Nathan Edge, surprisingly, despite not playing a single round of podcast predictions this year, is not actually bottom of the table. Let's get into it, shall we? So can you be the master or an embarrassing disaster? In this guessing game, there's a simple aim. It's outguess the rest and be the best. Win, lose or draw. Do you know the score? Who will be your hero to make sure you don't score zero? Yes, it may be fiction, but this is Podcast Predictions. Right, let's see who's going to win the week this week. Let's get our guesses in then, shall we? So Huddersfield at One Call Stadium, Nick. A team that are in fine form, coming up against a Mansfield side that aren't in fine form. But how will the Stags get on? Give me your prediction then for Huddersfield at home on Saturday afternoon.
3-1 Huddersfield. Reed.
So we're going to lose 3-1 and Lewis Reed's your fantasy captain. Clive,
I'm
are you going
hoping
on?
that puts the thing on it.
Mansfield Town 0. Huddersfield 2. Dave.
I do have to warn you, Clive, that it's technically not in the rules, but you are choosing Dave a lot. So you might want to have a think. You're also choosing Pim a lot. So
On a 2-0 defeat, choosing Pim is not a good idea.
What's the rule?
No, well, the rule is.
I thought you couldn't do it the week after.
You
could
can't
just
do the
say you
same
have
prediction.
one week, you can't have in the week after.
You can, that's exactly it. I'm just sort of saying I'm just saying it's not the same prediction, so it's fine. Anyway, moving on. I
would say don't pick your goalkeeper in a defeat.
Correct, because that loses your points.
In that case, I'm sticking with Dave. Thank you very much.
Well, there you go. You can touch, do what you want.
Or a defender.
You're usually, like, these two are doom merchants at the minute.
Never. Mansfield Town win 2-1. Bailey Cargill.
Ooh, Bailey Cargill as a guess.
I really hope you're right, Alan.
So do I.
So do I, Nick.
Let's be honest. Lose 2-0.
Oh,
George Maris is going to. I'm picking George Maris.
Alan, you are the last bastion of positivity.
Don't you call him a bastion.
I really wish I had the faith to go with a win, but at the moment I just don't. But it would be typical.
Can I just say, if it's not lost, I've been lost on you already. My negative forecasts are done knowing that if I forecast a defeat, we'll win normally.
Yeah, that's why I do it.
Yeah, same.
Don't work. Hasn't worked for the last few games, have it?
No, it's fallen off the cliff for the last couple of games.
3 wins coming up then.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Yeah. As always, if you want to play along with podcast predictions, you can do so via the link in the description. You must submit your guess no later than 1 hour and 1 minute before kickoff, and all the rules are on there. And again, they're not set by me; they're set by Ben, our podcast predictions guru. Make sure you follow us on all things social media to obviously find out who wins the week and all of that stuff in between. All the rules are explained on there. And Christmas is coming up, so there's plenty of points to be won. I'm sure that we'll do some double points and all of that sort of stuff over the Christmas period. Do you know what? I feel like we've had a little bit of a rant today. I feel like we've had some disagreements. I really wish that Cam had come on the podcast this week to face Nick. I would just like to read. I just would like to read Cam's comments from the group chat, Nick, just to reiterate, and then you can obviously, give him both barrels because he's not easy to defend himself. Interesting that Bolton fans also agree that without the sending off, we would have easily won the game. Without Boateng getting sent off, we'd have won the game regardless of him scoring. Him getting sent off cost us the game, and the fact Clough threw him under the bus and the fact Boateng made a public apology shows where the blame lies. Nick, take Cam a new one. Just do it.
Well, this is like Dictionary Corner, isn't it? But it's Shirt Corner. I I have no issue with people blaming Boateng, but what I don't like is people, and I'm using the word people instead of the word Cam, his obsession with slagging off Boateng. Because every time he comes on, he plays well. He never gets more than 40 minutes at a time to prove anything. He plays in different parts of the midfield at times, and I think whenever he comes on or wherever he plays, he does well. And the fact that he wanted him sacked on the spot, I think, was a little bit over the top. So I requested that he stopped, and I muted the chat and went to sleep.
Can we just acknowledge that I listened to your response, and I did temporarily boot him out of the group chat?
You did boot him out of the group chat, and that was much appreciated. But no, I just think some people have an obsession with Boateng, and I'm not sure. I don't know whether it's his gangliness, and I think it is his gangliness.
He is gangly.
I think it's his gangliness, but he is one of the only players who likes to pass forward all the time. He never goes backwards. Very, very rarely. And that's why he gives the ball away, because he tries to go forward. It's not his fault that there's nobody in front of him at times. So my message to Cam is stop slagging off Boateng, but it was his fault on Tuesday night, and I don't mind admitting that. But what I will say is stop slagging him off for nothing.
If he could use his other foot, it wouldn't be too bad. And then I might consider becoming a member of the Hiram Boateng fans club.
He's very similar to Aaron Lewis in terms of his inconsistency, and he gets no slack. Like, no one gives him any crap, Lewis, at all. No one mentions him. No one ever says he's not. But Boateng
Aaron Lewis
gets it.
Aaron, you can't slag off Aaron Lewis, because when you're having a little bit of alone time and he pops up on screen wearing that 80s hairdo, you can't do it, can you? You've got to differentiate yourself. You know what? We've had a little bit of.
That's very true what Nathan just said as well there, by the way.
What did Nathan just say?
He said that he wanted to disown and sack Pim on the spot as well.
That's true.
That's very true. And that was a bad idea as well.
Nathan Edge, I am going to say this.
Tuesday. Come out.
Yeah, I am going to say this. Nathan Edge, if you're capable of sitting and watching the comments, you know where the link is. Christmas special. Please, Nathan, make my Christmas and make some time for the Christmas special. We'll message you the dates. Please come to the Christmas special, because I miss you, and I need to subject you to this torture.
Content loading. Selecting game. Game selected. Players stand by. What's in Craig's bucket?
I fully knew that Clive would disappear for this bit when I came back, but he just loses out on the entertainment. He is there, I can see him in the background. He hates the quizzes, but it is what it is. But there you go. We are going to play a round of what's in Craig's bucket. Hello, yes, here he's back. Now, this week for what's in Craig's bucket, there is a theme, and I can tell you that there are 3 items in the bucket, but they all do relate to one another.
I know what they are. Cam's brain cells.
No. I haven't got a bucket small enough for Cam's brain cells. Although there is a hole in this bucket, so they could well have fallen through. His brain cells could well have fallen through. Usual rules apply. I'm going to give you 4 questions each to guess. If you get one item right, I will give you the points. And there's an opportunity at the end to figure out all of these items and how they link. So it will go in this order. It will go Nick, Alan, and then Clive. Let's try and figure out, shall we, what's in Craig's bucket. Take it away, Nick.
Are these items related to a seasonal holiday involving a man in a red costume who's very jolly?
Yes, they are.
Are they edible?
Only if you fancy a trip to A&E.
Are they wet, Alan? That's your next one, remember.
Right.
Are they identical?
Identical how? I expand.
Are they similar? Are they?
Yeah, they are similar in their usage, but not similar in their look.
Okay.
Are they all items that would fit on a tree?
They would fit on a tree, but why you'd put them on a tree, I don't know.
Would you wear them?
No.
Not baubles, then.
Clive?
Is it a Volkswagen Golf with a trailer and a barrel of monkeys on the back?
Nick, I'm not even going to give him the opportunity to ask a decent question. Nick?
That was my question. Hang on a minute, that was my question. Is it something? Are these items bought from a shop? Have you bought them?
Yes.
Would you possibly have to write on them?
No, but they'd be possibly used in the same process. I can sense there's a bit of a sticky situation going off here. Clive, your penultimate question, please.
Can you do the same task with each of the three?
Yes.
All right.
Nick, last one for you.
Are any of the items spherical?
Yes. In fact, you could argue that all of them are. Alan.
Do they cost a lot?
I would say they average around £1.50, £1, that sort of region. And you are buying a lot of them at this time of year in particular, especially if you have a lot of family. And Santa would go through stuff like this like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Clive, last questions to you.
I think it's 3 bags of reindeer crap.
Is that your question?
That's my guess.
You've got a question. That's not your guess.
All right, then. Is it 3 bags of reindeer crap?
No, it's not.
Okay.
All right. Can anyone figure out what items are in Craig's bucket? Nick, all you've got to do is name one of the 3 items. What's in Craig's bucket?
Cello tape.
Alan.
Stamps.
Clive.
Envelope.
What's Jeanette's name?
Spherical envelope.
What's Jeanette's guess?
Jeanette's guessing pen.
I can tell you that, Nick, one of the items in my bucket is a roll of sellotape.
In there. Get in there.
Now, based on a roll of sellotape, does anyone else want to guess what the next item is? Alan?
Wrapping paper.
No, Clive. What if it's related? Remember, what's the item? It's not sellotape. It's
glue.
Glue. It's
Yeah.
Pritt Stick. So it's a point apiece. Now we've got sellotape. We've got glue.
Hold on a minute. You asked me about, and I said glue. He jumped on. It wasn't.
I said it before you.
Doesn't matter. You're asking me.
All right, that's a fair point. It's a fair point.
Oh, here we go.
No, Alan,
behave yourself.
Alan,
here we go.
If you can guess the final item in my bucket, I will give you double points. What's the final item in my bucket?
What?
We've got
I got the first one. That's the hardest one. Hang on a minute.
Sellotape. We've got Pritt Stick. What else have we got?
And what do you blue tack?
It's not blue tack. It's a foam football.
Oh,
how's that related?
And you wonder why I hate his
How's they related?
I will tell you how this is related, because football represents Mansfield Town. The bucket represents a goal. Ball, bucket, ball, goal. Sellotape.
How's the ball related to sellotape?
Sellotape. Let me explain. Sellotape, Pritt Stick, stick together, because by sticking together, we will get through this. We'll win a game of football, we'll score a goal, and we'll survive in League One. No?
Our defence is made of sellotape, isn't it? That's the problem.
There is also that. Thanks for playing along. It's a point for Nick. It's a point for Clive. Sadly, no
I've
points
missed
for
an
Alan.
apostrophe. You've missed an apostrophe, Clive.
I'm devastated.
Nathan got it. Nathan got it.
Yeah, no, Nathan said sellotape.
So there you go. Well done for playing along. I hope that brightened your evening a little bit. It didn't brighten Clive's evening whatsoever. Let's round off. By the way, Clive, if you think that these quizzes are SH1T, Christmas special is coming up on Friday the 20th of December. Get ready. Game on.
Get delving in, Nick, for your Doctor Who.
Absolutely. Jodie Whittaker.
I've researched penalty shootout scorers and Doctor Who. That's all I need. I don't think I need anything else.
I've told you before, penalty shootout scorers is for the New Year's quiz and the end of season quiz. You will get no joy out of that in the Christmas quizzes, plural. Right, we've got to stick together. hence the sellotape and the Pritt stick. We can't let the atmosphere go toxic, which I don't think it will.
No.
We've just got to combine together, haven't we, Alan? Because, you know, a win on Saturday, or at least a draw, I think a draw would be a good result as well. We can do this. And whilst we're losing game after game after game and there's blame, we are going to respond, and collectively we will take responsibility, right? That's what we do under Clough.
I think it's a blip. It's a minor blip, and we will come out the other side.
Sometimes what you need at this time of season when you're in a little bit of form is words of wisdom, and there's no one more suited to give words of wisdom than Clive Parkin.
Keep the faith, you buggers.
And with the final word from our panel tonight, let's give it to the man who's got more shirts than Santa's got presents, and he's currently doing a shirts advent calendar. Where can people find it, Nick, if they want to take part in the advent calendar? And also, whose shirt would you like to unwrap for Christmas from the current squad?
They can find me on Mansfield Town shirts everywhere. I'm always Mansfield Town shirts. Well, the club have made a bit of a boo-boo. I don't know if you know about this. The bidding for shirts commenced at full time on Stevenage, and then they pulled it an hour later. So it's now disappeared because I don't think the club was supposed to. But I was trying to get Will Evans, would have been the one I would have probably gone for next, maybe, I think. I've got Deji's, got Dave's, so I would probably... I've got Hiram, but I need more. You can't have a shrine with one shirt, can you? So, and in the words of Clive Parkin, shirt's my arse.
I worry about Nick's obsession with Hiram Boateng sometimes, but do you know what? Everyone's got a little bit of a dodgy side to them, haven't they? And that just happens to be Nick's. Thanks to Clive, thanks to Alan, thanks to Nick as well for joining us this week. Don't forget to join us on next week's podcast and stick together like the sellotape and the Pritt stick. That was the fucking link. You just do this, Craig. That is it for another week on the Mansfield Matters podcast. Thanks so much to the podcast panel, and thanks for you guys at home for watching and for listening. Join us again next week. We'll let you know when it's going to be on social media as we recap on all things Huddersfield and look ahead to trips to Charlton and more as we count down to Christmas. Can the Stags respond? Can they collectively take responsibility? Under Nigel Clough, anything is possible. 6 points from the playoffs, 6 points from the bottom four. It is literally on the fence. What better place to be at this time of year? It could be a lot worse. Keep smiling, keep singing, keep battling, and keep buggering on, as they used to say, and keep supporting the Stags. Why? Well, for one simple reason, and it's that Mansfield always matters. Don't forget podcast predictions. We'll see you next time. Good night.